on a day when the SNP were trying to hold an opposition day debate on the most serious of issues. I have heard what the honourable gentleman has said, and I will be speaking to business managers.
SNP spokesperson Owen Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Now, obviously, yesterday was incredibly disappointing from our point of view in terms that was meant to be an opposition day. It's one of only 3 times in the calendar year where our party gets an opportunity to put forward our business to the House. And I don't think it was a surprise to anyone what we were coming forward with. We had been allocated an opposition day 4 or 5 weeks ago, and for very understandable reasons that had to be moved when the Northern Ireland Assembly was reconvening, so we totally understood why that had to be moved. And at that stage, there were conversations asking me when we'd see sight of the GAZA motion that we'd be bringing forward. So for anyone to suggest they didn't know that that was the topic that we might be coming forward with is quite extraordinary. Yeah. So when we actually got to that position, and on our opposition day, one of the very few times we do get to have our policy put forward, our voice was silent when our vote was not able to be taken. And that is incredibly disappointing for me and incredibly disappointing for the significant numbers of my constituents, and I know the constituents of my colleagues and other colleagues from across this chamber who wanted to support that motion. So could I ask the Leader of the House, given that effectively we did not get an opposition day yesterday, can we have an allocation of an alternative date for our opposition day, given that didn't happen? We lost, as others have said, a significant amount of time at the start of the debate, and because of the decision of the Speaker, unfortunately, Madam Deputy Speaker, we lost 40 minutes at the end of that debate. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but that meant that colleagues were cut short and some withdrew. So from that point of view, I would ask the Leader of the House what consideration she could give to that, and beyond that, what consideration can be given to the protection for the smaller parties, not simply being railroaded for political purposes one of either of the bigger parties. Now, where I do echo the comments of the Shadow Leader of the House, I think it's critical that all members of this place, whatever their position or status, are protected from bullying and intimidation. I think it's entirely unacceptable if reports are to believe that there is reporting across many media outlets that there was significant pressure put on Mr Speaker to come to his decision yesterday. And can I ask the Leader of the House what steps she is going to take to investigate these very, very serious claims? Because if there is anything of substance to these, that is an affront to any democracy where a party leader can direct decisions of the chair of this place. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, as Chief Whip, I am involved in a number of conversations, as you know, on how business comes forward. And I had direct assurances that I would have a vote on the words of my motion yesterday. Everybody knew the potential outcome at the end of yesterday's debate well in advance. So to suggest that nobody knew that that was going to be the outcome is utter nonsense. The reason that we were in the position we were in was because the normal conventions and standing orders of this House were overruled against the advice of the clerks, and that only happened because the Labour Party wanted to get dug out of a hole, and it's unacceptable.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It is no secret to anyone that regularly tunes into these sessions that I frequently disagree with the Scottish National Party on everything that they raise in this chamber. But they have a right to say these things on the floor of the House and debate their issues. If I was able to speak in the debate yesterday, I would have been critical of how they brought forward the motion and perhaps their motives for doing so. But it is their right to do that. And our standing orders protect the ability, in particular of minority parties, to be able to have those debates. There are serious consequences to the decision that was taken yesterday for minority parties and also for the government. Our motion an amendment was the only one, for example, that mentioned violence against women and girls that took place. So this is very important and we need to make sure that those rights of minority parties are protected going forward. I am very sympathetic to the SNP being given more time. I also have to say I'm sympathetic about it being knocked off the Labour Party's allocation. And with regard to the serious matter of Mr Speaker did come to the House yesterday. He did apologise, and I know he is meeting with all parties on this matter, and I will be meeting with him later today.
David Linden.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. May I ask the Leader of the House, if we are to believe the Speaker of the House of Commons that his selection of amendments yesterday was to give the widest possible debate, can she answer why it was that he did not select the Lib Dem amendment? Because the reality is the SNP were stitched up with a deal with the Labour Party yesterday, and does she, like me, share a degree of incredulity that a Speaker who insists that you cannot speak in this place without a tie on now wants us to move on and modernise?
Leader of the House.
Well, I thank the honourable gentleman for his question. It does afford me the chance again to direct members to the clerk's advice. Anyone that is peddling the line that this would have led to a wider debate has not read that advice.
Stephen Flynn, Leader of the SNP.
Mr Speaker, last evening we saw the best of this House and its ability to debate, and we also saw the worst of this House as it descended into farce. And I think I speak for everyone in the chamber just now, and indeed yesterday, when I expressed my deep sorrow that that was able to happen, given the content of what it was we were debating. Nevertheless, Mr Speaker, it descended into farce because of a decision that you made, and you alone made, to ignore the advice that was given to you by the clerks. In doing so, on the opposition day of the Scottish National Party, my colleagues and I were denied the ability to vote on a matter which is of grave concern to us and which over recent months we have sought to raise in this chamber at every available opportunity. It ultimately turned into a Labour opposition day. That, quite frankly, is not acceptable. And as I have expressed to you privately prior to proceedings here today, we do not, on these benches, therefore believe that you can continue in your role as Speaker. We do not have confidence in your ability to do so. So I would therefore welcome clarity, either from yourself or indeed from the Leader of the House, as to how we can best facilitate a vote in this chamber at the earliest possible occasion to that effect. Thank you.
Leader.
Can I thank the honourable gentleman for his question? I hope that he can see in my actions yesterday that I am a servant of this House, and that even though it may not be in the government's interests to do so, narrow interest to do so, I will protect the rights of all minority parties to be able to air their views in this place, and to those parties that are afforded opposition day debates, that they are able to have those debates in the fullest sense and have votes on the motions that they put. We create the rules of this House, and the Speaker serves at our behest. I think, given the range of views that have been expressed on the floor of the House today, many interventions being supportive of the Speaker and pointing out the pressures that were put on him yesterday, that we take time to reflect. Mr Speaker has said his door is open to all parties and individual members, as is mine. But as I said, the government will listen to this House. I am a servant of this House, and I will do its bidding.
I will also come in at this point. I will reiterate, I made a judgment call that didn't end up in the position where I expected it to. I regret it. I apologise to the SNP. Just bear with me for a moment. I apologise, and I apologise to the House. I made a mistake. We do make mistakes. I own up to mine. I would say that we can have an SO24 to get an immediate debate, because the debate is so important to this House. I will defend every member in this House. Every member matters to me in this House. And it has been said, both sides, I never, ever want to go through a situation where I pick up a phone to find a friend of whatever side has been murdered by terrorists. I also don't want another attack on this House. I was in the chair on that day. I have seen, I have witnessed. I won't share the details, but the details of the things that have been brought to me are absolutely frightening on all members of this House, on all sides. I have a duty of care, and I say that. And if my mistake is looking after members, I am guilty. I am guilty because I have a duty of care that I will carry out to protect people. It is the protection that led me to make a wrong decision. But what I do not apologise is the risk that's being put on all members at the moment. I had serious meetings yesterday with the police on the issues and threats to politicians, threats heading to an election. And I do not want anything to happen again. So yes, I will apologise. I always will when I make a mistake. I did. I offer an SO24. That is within my gift and power. But I will also say I will do whatever it is to protect anybody in this chamber or anybody who works in this House. That is my duty of care. Patricia Gibson.
Mr Speaker, given the unprecedented breach of convention yesterday and the unseemly antics despite the fact that we were debating the very, very serious slaughter in the Middle East, will the Leader of the House make a statement setting out her view on the need for this House to have full disclosure on exactly what conversations took place between Mr Speaker and the leadership of the Labour Party amid grave allegations of the Labour Party engaging in dark practices and possibly even blackmail before this unprecedented breach of convention, which has very sadly undermined confidence in our Speaker? And does she not agree that this is very important in the interest of transparency? And can I press the Leader of the House further that will she ensure that the SNP will be allocated another opposition day so that we can air our views and have our vote and express our constituents' concerns about the slaughter in Gaza?
Well, the Honourable Lady has got her views on record and I thank her for it. As I said, I am very sympathetic to the SNP being given additional time, and she will understand that I will announce further business in the usual way, but I'm very happy to talk to the Leader of her party.
Excellent. Point of order, Mr Linden, if the point of order relates to this business.
It does indeed relate to the proceedings that we've just had. I had hoped that Mr Speaker would be in the chair for this point of order. I did give notice to the chair that I would be making this point of order, and I've given notice to the Leader of the House. It is with a huge amount of regret, because I am somebody who likes to speak on a personal basis, that I have signed LED motion 412 indicating that I do not have confidence in Mr Speaker. Now, if my understanding is correct, he outlined today that his desire is to seek to allow the House to express its view. Now, the reality is that in the space of probably about 13 or 14 hours, scores of MPs, approaching I think 60 at the last check, have signed that early day motion expressing no confidence in the Speaker of this House. Can I ask you, Madam Deputy Speaker, to ask the Speaker to make clear to the Government that he has no objection to that motion of no confidence being tabled and allowing the House to express its view as he said he would? Because the reality is, whether we like it or not, the conduct of the Speaker of the House of Commons has raised wider questions. And the fact that 60 members of this House have indicated they do not have confidence in them means that that has now got to be put to a vote, and he cannot object to that.
Yes.
I thank the honourable gentleman for his very clear point of order. Let me clarify. He is asking me to convey to Mr Speaker the message that he has just given and the question he has just asked, and I can undertake to convey that to Mr Speaker. I'm very reluctant to take further points of order. Is it directly related to this business?
Yes.
In that case, point of order, Mr Alan Brown.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On the point of order, I seek your guidance, and perhaps maybe as Chair of Ways and Means you might be able to give further clarity. As regards the response the Speaker gave earlier in the session there to the SNP group leader about the sequencing of the decisions they took. Now, yesterday, the guidance he gave at the start of the debate, that he said there was a precedent for taking the main party opposition amendment to the smaller parties amendment. But in the letter from the clerks, it's quite clear there's no precedent on that. He also said it was about having the widest possible debate. But then last night, the rationale changed to security, and that's where at the session just there, Mr Speaker really honed in on security being the primary reason for the decision he made, and he intimated that lives were at risk. Now, that's a very grave matter, and implicitly implies that the SNP motion as it stood was effectively putting members' lives at risk in terms of the decisions they were going to make. It implies that somehow debating the Labour amendment somehow takes away the security risk, which actually then infers an assumption in how members are going to vote. Why was the security concerns not shared with other party leaders? And what did the Security Service say? And doesn't this set a precedent that mob rule can actually change the business of the House?
No, I have to stop the honourable gentleman there. He is trying to continue the debate, and he is asking again questions that Mr Speaker has already come to the chamber and answered. Mr Speaker has dealt with those matters, and it's not for me to deal with them any further. I think there will be further opportunities to explore these matters, both in public and in private, and the leader of the honourable gentleman's party will no doubt be having discussions with Mr Speaker. But I'm not going to continue these matters. If, sir, it is another point of order directly relating to this business, I will take it now. Dr Ben Spencer.
On a point of order, thank you for taking my point of order, Madam Deputy Speaker. I think this is an issue of quite substantial constitutional importance, which I seek your guidance on. I think it's been made very clear in my question to the Leader of the House, the member of Bassett Law, several of the members, that there are concerns regarding the motions which were taken yesterday evening. In fact, the BBC is reporting that the House has approved the motions yesterday. The Labour Party is putting out adverts saying the House approved the motions yesterday, yet there is concern as to whether this was a valid vote going forwards. It is critical that the public have faith in our democratic process. What mechanism is there to void the motions yesterday and have a rerun?
Hear, hear.
No. Well, once again, the honourable gentleman reiterates matters which have already been considered, and I plead on behalf of the people that we all represent that this matter should now calm down, and that tempers and anger should not be encouraged to flourish further. But these are matters which might have to be further explored, and Mr Speaker and the Leader of the House have both made it clear to the House this morning that there will be other opportunities to consider these matters and to fully debate them. Now, I will take no further points of order on this, recognising that members on all sides of the House have strong feelings, most of which have been expressed, and I do now plead for calm.